Welcome to Candidates on Campus, presented by Waterfront TV, a town hall discussion, live from the Nova Scotia Community College's Waterfront Campus, featuring Dartmouth South candidates, Liberal Alan Rowe, New Democratic Party Mary Vingo, and Progressive Conservative Gord Gamble, answering your questions on energy, healthcare, education, and jobs. Tweet your questions live at WTV_NSCC. And now, here's your host, Troy Merrick.
Good afternoon and welcome to Candidates on Campus presented by Waterfront TV. I'm Troy Merrick and today we're hosting the MLA candidates for the Dartmouth South riding here at NSCC's Waterfront Campus. We'll be taking questions from our audience and from social media. Katie Lonis is watching that for us. Katie?
Thanks, Troy. I'll be taking questions for the candidates from social media. If you have a question throughout the show, tweet at WTV_NSCC. Now, this isn't just for those at home. We encourage audience members here with us today to tweet as well. So don't be shy. We want your questions, and we'll have your first question from social media a little later on. Back to you, Troy.
Thanks, Katie. It's time now to meet our candidates. Each of them has a minute and a half for their opening statements. Now, earlier on, we did a random draw to see who would go first, and it will be Progressive Conservative candidate, Mr. Gord Gamble.
Thank you, Troy, and thank you for being here, and thanks for the invitation. First, let me say that I'm very pleased to talk about the fact that I was able to hire 6 Nova Scotia Community College graduates from your computer graphics graphic design program, working very closely with Crystal McManus. It was great from my business perspective, but it was also very fulfilling to give those young people their first job in their area of study. The PC Party platform deals with the fundamental principles of our economy: taxes, government spending, and jobs. By lowering the HST and eliminating the tax on gasoline, we will leave more money, more of your hard-earned money in your pockets. The immediate response from the other parties is often, you can't lower taxes without cutting spending. This is old economy thinking. We can reduce taxes by tackling the wasteful spending of government, specifically in the top-heavy administration of our healthcare and education systems. I would have to believe that for many of you in the room, one of the most important topics today is about your future prospects for a career here at home. Over the past 4 years, the current government has provided $590 million in corporate handouts, and yet we have 2,700 fewer full-time jobs in Nova Scotia. Our party is committed to eliminating the cabinet-controlled slush fund and invest in the true job creators in Nova Scotia, entrepreneurs and business owners, where 80% of the private sector jobs are created. We will make Nova Scotia a small business tax-free zone, eliminating the 3.5% small business tax. And finally, the PC platform makes one other very serious commitment that you should be aware of. We will reintroduce legislation that governments must balance budgets every year. Our debt has grown by over $2 billion in the last 4 years and now sits at $14 billion. Balancing budgets is hard for governments. Not balancing budgets is very hard for future Nova Scotians. Thank you.
PCD candidate Gord Gamble, thank you very much. Next, we'll hear from the Liberal candidate for this riding, Mr. Alan Rowe.
Well, thanks very much, Troy, and students with the radio and television faculty here at the NSCC, other students, and as well members of the public who have come out this afternoon. I have to tell you, I'm so very happy to have been invited here this afternoon to have this chance to speak with all of you, along with my fellow candidates, Mary Vingo and Gord Gamble. I believe that this next hour or so could very well be one of the most important hours of my campaign process so far, because I have a chance now to speak to some of the most important people in our province today, and that's you, the young people of our province. It's an opportunity to hear from you and to discuss with you some of the key issues that are on your minds. Young people who know the value of an education, young people who know the importance of an entrepreneurial spirit, the significance of growing up and growing a community and a province's economy from the ground up, not from the top down, hiring local people in local businesses, people who want to work here, people who want to stay here, people who want to raise their families here. It's so very important then to all of us that you, our future workers, our entrepreneurs, our business people, our retailers, our executives and so on, are confident that you know that your government is working for you on your behalf to achieve what you want you and your province to achieve. I know that myself and a Liberal government are prepared to take significant action. We're prepared to listen to you and to help you in all of your desires and goals for yourselves and your province. This isn't about scoring or rating one candidate against the other. This is about choosing who best will represent you in the legislature. Thanks a lot for coming this afternoon. Looking forward to our discussions.
Liberal candidate Alan Rowe, thank you. And next we'll hear from NDP candidate Mary Vingo with her opening statements. Ms. Vingo?
Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming out. Troy and everyone here today. It's wonderful to be here in this great green state-of-the-art building and discussing the democratic process with so many young people. I've been out on the doorsteps and I've met many of you who live around here, and I'm so glad that some of you are here today to discuss issues that are so important to us. I am so proud to be here as the NDP candidate. I'm hoping to replace Marilyn Moore, who has been our MLA for 3 terms and who's done such a good job of representing this community. I've certainly heard that many times on the doorsteps in Dartmouth South. I've been part of this community for, I guess, since 1990. My husband and I moved here. We've raised our girls here. We've gone through the Dartmouth school system here, and I've become very involved in the community as an artist, as a parent, and as an educator. My girls both did their higher education here in Nova Scotia, so higher education is a subject very dear to my heart. The NDP core values of caring for our community, our seniors, giving our children the best possible start, and providing access to the best possible health care are very dear to my heart. We have made some very big strides in the past 4 years. We have 8,000 less people living in poverty. We have the highest credit rating we've ever had. And I don't think we should turn the clock back now. I hope we can finish what we started. Thank you.
And thank you. On today's program, we'll be discussing some of the key issues facing Nova Scotia. Each candidate will have a chance to weigh in and tell us what they'll do if elected. First off, something close to many people here today, post-secondary education.
When it comes to post-secondary education, Nova Scotia students have lots of options, with 11 universities and 13 campuses of the Nova Scotia Community College to choose from. But stats show they also have the highest debt in the country, with an average of $27,000 after a 4-year undergrad degree. And on top of that, they have to pay interest. Right now, the provincial government spends more than $400 million a year on post-secondary institutions. But future funding is uncertain, as some institutions struggle to keep classes full with an aging population and fewer young people.
And it's now time for our first question on post-secondary education. It comes to us from Riley Loy.
How's it going, candidates? I just really wanted to know how you're going to eliminate student debt, because us students have more important things to worry about than paying you back, like eating.
We'll start first with Liberal candidate Alan Rowe.
Well, Riley, it's a great question, and there are a lot of things that you should be more concerned with than eating is certainly one of them. There's a two-prong answer to this question. The first thing we have to do is try and ease the burden of your debt as quickly as we can. And a Liberal government will eliminate the interest on the provincial tax portion of all student loans. That's the one thing we can do to try and make things easier right out of the gate. The next thing we have to do is get you a job, a good paying, permanent job rather in the province that you can work at so you can start repaying that loan as quickly as possible. We've got several incentives in place. Most critically, we want to revamp and modernize our apprenticeship program to give apprentices better opportunities to work elsewhere and have those hours count here if they have to go away. We're also going to make it more flexible for local companies to hire, or at least hire more apprentices instead of the limit. So we want to change the ratio of the number of apprentices to the number of employers. We've also got a program that we're very proud of, the Graduate to Opportunity program. $6.5 million, which will provide as payroll incentives to companies who hire new graduates for a period of at least 12 months. The idea is to get you into the workforce, get you working, grow our economy that way, and give you that opportunity.
Sorry to stop you there, Mr. Rowe. It's just we have a reminder from our producer that we have very strict timelines that we have to abide by.
Yep.
And so we'll go now to Mary Vingo.
Well, this is a great question. The government has a strong commitment to making post-secondary education more reasonable for all of us. We provided an extra $18 million this year to student assistance programs. We're putting that to upfront costs. So we're really raising the amount of non-repayable loans to students as opposed to, and it's geared to income levels. So we're trying to put the help where it's needed most, which is one of the core values of this government and one of the reasons that I'm here today. We have doubled the student assistance. We've also introduced Canada's first debt cap, so the amount of debt that you can actually rack up is capped now. This is the first time this happened in Canada. And we've upped the textbook allowance, and we've limited tuition increases to 3%. And that puts us squarely in the middle of higher institutions across Canada in terms of our tuition rates. So we have a big, we have a commit, sorry?
Sorry, I didn't mean to
Am
cut
I
you off
finished?
there. I was just, yeah, we have our timer out here
sorry,
in front of the stage.
I'm finished.
Didn't- Sorry, it's just we're under strict regulations. And now I'll go to you,
Good.
Mr. Gamble.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Raleigh. And I certainly ate my share of craft dinner back in those days of university, so I know what he's talking about eating. But I think to this question specifically, first of all, we need to make sure that we make education affordable for our youth so that when they are graduating, we can reduce the amount of debt that they're graduating with. And so our government is committed, our party is committed to establishing 5-year commitments to Nova Scotia Community College and our other higher learning education schools here in Nova Scotia to ensure they understand where their funding is going to be, not 1 year, not 2 years, but 5 years out. We have some very competent people running organizations like this one. They need to plan, and by doing that, they'll make your education less expensive. Specifically on debt, Riley, you're going to find out that not only are you going to carry student debt forward in Nova Scotia, but there's a lot of other aspects that you're going to be spending your money on every month, like your power bill, like your taxes. And those are the types of economic factors that we are trying to address within our platform. We need to lower your taxes. We need to freeze power rates so that you can afford to pay your school debt back after you've made that investment into your education. Those are important. And then lastly, it's about getting you a job because you won't be paying that loan back with interest until you enter the job market. And we need to do that by investing in our small businesses again.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gamble. It's now time to check in with Katie Lonis, who's monitoring social media. Katie, what are people online asking about education?
Well, thanks, Troy. Education is definitely one of the most popular topics among students, not even just during election time, but throughout the year, and for good reason. We're going to go to Facebook now, and Gabe Smith is asking, do you think it's better to subsidize university students through direct payments to universities, or to put more money into scholarships that promote research in Nova Scotia? That's the question.
And we'll start with Mary Vingo.
Well, it's an excellent question. I'm not sure it's an either-or question, actually, but certainly this government has put its money up front to students and alleviating the tuition challenges up front by increasing the student aid program and bursaries and capping student debt. We also have a graduate retention program and other programs like that to help you when you graduate. So I think that we have taken the target approach of going to the students first. Obviously, we're managing a number of institutions and they all have different needs, and we're very committed to higher education here in the province, but I think it's fair to say that our priority has been students first and making sure that debt load is takeable, honorable.
Thank you. And Mr. Gamble?
I have to just reiterate, it's about making the economy in Nova Scotia a lot stronger than it is today. That is going to allow us to invest in both students and the higher education facilities here in Nova Scotia. So if we can get our taxes in order, if we can get our power rates in order, and families can afford to save a little bit of money on a regular basis so that they can support their children who want to pursue long-term higher education. Those are the kind of factors that are critical in this time in Nova Scotia, and I hear it countless times on the doorstep. But I think we also want to inspire those youth to seek those opportunities for higher education by letting them see forward the career opportunities and job prospects that we have here in our province. We don't want to train people here in Nova Scotia to send them to Alberta, and we're doing far too much of that today. So let's create a strong economy here in Nova Scotia, and let's invest in small businesses who are going to create the job opportunities so that when you do receive your education, you can put it to work right away.
Thank you. And finally to you, Mr. Rowe.
Well, I think Gabe or Dave, I'm sorry, I wasn't sure what the name was of the person on Facebook, but it's fine to talk about all the things we want to do in creating jobs, but the key is we have to create those jobs. And that means that graduates and people coming out of school are not necessarily looking for existing jobs. They're actually able to create some new positions and perhaps in new ventures and new developments. And to do that, the Liberal government has clearly recognized there is a need. And we have committed to providing up to 300 scholarships per year for students, and this will be in the range of $10,000 to $15,000 each. And these are aimed at students who are coming out of school, university or college or wherever, with an idea, an entrepreneurial idea, a new venture idea, a business idea. These scholarships will be looked at and assessed on an individual basis, gearing to the fact that it's going to create a new source of employment, new source for jobs, and new opportunities to grow our economy from the ground up. That's the key. So that's an initiative we are committed to taking right away, to helping on that regard.
Thank you. We're now going to turn to take a look at the issue of jobs and employment here in Nova Scotia.
Employment is an important issue for both young and aging Nova Scotians. Statistics show the province has gained several thousand jobs in the last 5 years, but almost all of them have been part-time jobs, and most of those have been in the service industry. That has many people calling for the government to create more full-time, well-paying jobs to keep Nova Scotia's skilled workforce in the province.
Our first question relating to jobs and employment comes to us from Denise Parrott.
Hi, my name is Denise Parrott, and I'm wondering what you would do in government to keep and maintain full-time jobs in Nova Scotia.
And we'll start with you, Ms. Vingo.
Well, thank you for that, Denise. This is a question I was looking forward to answering because I think our government's track record on this has been fantastic. We came into into government in 2009 in the worst recession since the Great Depression. The whole world economy was collapsing. And yet, 4 years later, we have 8,000 fewer people living in poverty, and we have the highest credit rating this province has ever had, and more foreign investment than anywhere else in North America. Now, how did this happen? This happened because our premier has gone out like no premier before him and fought to bring jobs and create jobs and keep jobs in this province. We have the largest contract we have ever had in our history with Shipstart here. We are looking at we have invested in our high-tech sector. We have reinvested in our traditional sector. We have upgraded outmoded facilities. We have invested in the creative economy. We have invested in local agriculture. We have a very, very strong plan for green sustainable energy. And in actual fact, in 2013, we have the
sorry,
lowest
Ms. Vingo, I'm going to have
unemployment
to stop you there.
in Atlantic Canada.
And Mr. Campbell, we'll go to you next, please.
Sure. I'm going to say something that I hope you'll understand what I'm my point here. I don't believe governments create jobs. I believe governments create an environment for jobs to be created. And I think we have to get away from governments renting jobs, like we've been doing in this province, and in fairness, far beyond the time that the NDP have been in government. You know, I quoted some statistics about the millions of dollars that we've given in corporate handouts. In fairness to Mr. Dexter and the government, many governments have been doing that for many, many years, and we're still falling behind in true full-time employment, as was said in the intro. So we need a different approach to this, and I think this is exactly where Jamie Bailey has stood up with a very bold statement to say, we're going to stop giving away your tax dollars to corporations. We're going to stop. We're still going to invest in Nova Scotia Business Inc., which goes out and does good research, makes good business, rational business decisions on the types of sector jobs that we should be bringing to this province. But the real job creators in this province are the Eastlinks, the Shannexes, the great entrepreneurs, Clearwater Seafoods, the great entrepreneurs that have come out of Nova Scotia. Those are the job creators that we need to invest our money, your tax dollars in to help you get more jobs.
Sorry to stop you there. And we'll go next to you, Mr. Rowe.
You know, the facts speak for themselves, and the facts are, we had 4,000 people leave our province last year. We had 1,700 people leave our province in the first quarter of this year. That's the greatest exodus of people since 1971. So you can talk all you want about jobs that are being created, but they're part-time and temporary jobs. Hundreds of millions of dollars given away to big corporations to bring in short-term jobs. That's no way to grow an economy. Growing the economy is from the ground up. Investing in our young people, investing in our future entrepreneurs, investing in our local businesses, giving them tax incentives and tax breaks wherever we can, giving opportunities to companies to hire young people and start their new businesses wherever they can, giving opportunities to graduates to start new ventures whenever they can. We have to grow our economy bottom up. It's no point in just giving it away to a company that's here and gone in a couple of years, taking its jobs with it.
All right, thank you. Now, during our program, we've been taking questions from our audience. We're going to get to a few of them now. Our first one comes from Brandon Stewart, and he wants to know, what plans do you have to encourage new local businesses to get established in Nova Scotia? Starting with you, Ms. Vingo.
Well, as I said, and thank you for the question, We, as a government, were the first to reduce the small business tax. We did a 40% reduction, which was the first government in 20 years to do that. So the other guys have been around for a long time, and they keep talking about small business, but we were the first government to reduce the small business tax. We've also have a number of programs to support innovation, to support training, to support non-conventional training within the small business community. And you'll see in downtown Dartmouth today a number of organizations that have benefited from that. We also have a microcredit program which allows the smallest of entrepreneurs, the startups, to get in there and get $10,000 with very little collateral to start a bakery or to start a print shop or to start something that they believe in, a bike shop or whatever. And that's been very, very successful. So we've supported business from the smallest to the largest. We don't leave out anybody, and we've worked really, really hard because I agree that I'm out of time. Right?
Sorry to restrict you. I obviously have a lot to say about this. And we're going to move back now to Mr. Gamble. I understand that this was a major part of your opening statement and the PC's platform, so if you wouldn't mind just going into a little bit more detail.
This is in my wheelhouse, no question. This is my area, small business. And I just want to clarify something. The NDP government indicates that they reduced the small business tax by 40%. They did, but they also decreased the threshold for small businesses from $500,000 to $350,000, one of the lowest in Canada. Meaning, as a taxpayer, a small business taxpayer, my tax bill went up as a small business owner. It didn't go down. So our proposal is to take the threshold back to $500,000, which makes us competitive with the other provinces here in Canada, as we do compete for small business jobs, and to eliminate the tax. And I can tell you, this is a very, very impactful decision to take. These are the types of decisions that will create jobs in Nova Scotia that aren't here today. This will allow those small business owners to take risk and invest back in their businesses by hiring that additional person, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4, but 80% of our jobs come from that sector, come from that small business sector. So don't allow your government to keep writing big checks for big corporations that are renting jobs for short term.
Sorry, I know you can go on for a while about
Sorry.
that. No, it's okay. You specified that that's your specialty, so we're going to go now to Mr. Rowe to hear what he has to say about it.
Well, first of all, we will increase the equity tax credit for small business operators. We will also do a comprehensive review of all taxes in our province, with an eye to reducing taxes whenever it is prudently possible to do so, and to provide opportunities for our young companies, our growing companies, to grow and succeed. As Mr. Gamble has said, we have to stop the mentality of big corporation giveaways. Take that money and spend it where it should be spent on the front lines, providing tax incentives, providing opportunities to companies to grow and get their feet under them. And to do that, as I say, we need to look at all aspects of it. The HST, with all respect, Mr. Gamble's party is proposing slashing the HST by 2% immediately. We have said we will cut the HST when we know it is prudently responsible to do that, and only then. $400 million is the lost revenue by cutting the HST by 2%, 180 per percent, 180 million. Where is that money going to come from? Our concern is that's going to come from services and other areas of the province that we don't want to see it having to come from. So,
thank you. And that's going to conclude our question period for the day. Before we end the program, let's take some time for our candidates to give us their final thoughts. We'll start with you, Ms. Vingo.
Just a second. I wasn't ready for that. You're catching me off guard, Troy. Well, as I've said before, I'm very proud to be here. I'm very proud of what this government has done since 2009. When we took office after Conservative Premier Rodney MacDonald, we were facing a deficit of $1.3 billion, and we were in the middle of the worst economic recession since the Great Depression. Let's not forget that. Now in 2013, and this is a StatsCan statistic, and I know I've said it before, I'll say it again, we have 8,000 fewer people living in poverty. We have the highest credit rating this province has ever had, which used to be really important to the Liberals and the Conservatives, but now they say it's not important. That's a Dominion bond rating. That's not normally a big NDP fan, Dominion Bond Services. We're the #1 place in North America for foreign investment, and our Premier has fought like no other Premier before him to bring, create, and keep good jobs in this province. Ship Start Here brought us the biggest contract in our history. We've invested in high tech. We've invested in the traditional sector. We've invested in small business, outmoded facilities, protecting our natural land, 13%, higher than the UN recommendation. And most of all, we have a plan for sustainable green energy, tax-free, because we don't put the HST on our energy like the other guys. And most importantly, we've got a great healthcare system which needs more work, but we've already reduced emergency room closures by 92%, and we can't afford to go back to the chaos of the 1990s. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fingo. And Mr. Gamble?
I'm very much an optimist, and I believe there is great potential here in our province of Nova Scotia. I agree the Irving Shipbuilding contract won by the Irvings is very significant to our future, as is the offshore exploration that's going on right now with British Petroleum and Shell. And of course, as I've stated many times, there is a great entrepreneurial spirit right here in Nova Scotia. And I think you, as young people coming into this economy, should be excited by future opportunities. So this election is a very important election for you, as you get to participate in the selection of the next leader of our province. And although I believe that there are innate qualities of leadership, I also believe that the experience one brings to a role of this magnitude is extremely important. Jamie Bailey, the leader of the PC Party, brings a very unique combination of education, public service, and private sector success to the role of Premier of Nova Scotia. Jamie is a chartered accountant who left that business to become Chief of Staff for Dr. John Hamm in a time in our history when we were balancing consecutive budgets. He left the public sector to become the CEO of the credit union and led that organization to record growth while reducing the administration costs. And now, as the leader of our party, Jamie Bailey has put forward the only fully costed platform to lead our province in a new direction. And it offers lower taxes, it offers stopping our wasteful spending, it brings freeze to our power rates, and it creates that environment in Nova Scotia for growth. I'd like to thank Alan and Mary for running 2 wonderful campaigns as we start to draw to a close, and I would like to thank you for this time and opportunity to speak to you again. Please vote on October the 8th. Thank you.
And Mr. Rowe.
Well, thanks very much, Troy, and I want to thank everybody who attended here in the theatre today and all the people that are watching on the live streams as well. A slightly different tack. As many of you may know, I had a reasonably successful career as a radio and television journalist for over 30 years, and after retiring last June, after 3 decades, I've decided to step into the political arena. That decision was one that I thought about very carefully. It's not one that I had to make. It's one that I truly wanted to make. I want to do this because representing the Dartmouth South, the riding of Dartmouth South, is an opportunity I would truly be honored to assume. My decision to run as a candidate for the Liberal Party was based on my belief that our leader, Stephen McNeil, has a vision. He has the plan, and he has the sincere determination to put Nova Scotians and all of you first, to make our province a better place for ourselves, for our families, and for our businesses and institutions. We can't keep going down the same road we've been going for the past 4 years, giving away hundreds of millions of dollars to corporations which create only short-term or part-time jobs. We can't continue to cut into what are some of the prime areas, or should be the prime areas of spending for government, healthcare and education, when it's our health and our young people that we need in order to succeed. We have to change our course. We have to spend more prudently. We have to take on and we have to challenge the big corporations, including Nova Scotia Power and Emera. And we have to put Nova Scotians first. Stephen McNeil is prepared to work hard. I'm prepared to work hard. I want to thank you all for your time here, and I also want to thank Mary and Gord for a tremendous campaign today. Thank you.
And thank you. We'll now take our closing remarks from our social media correspondent, Katie Lonis. Katie?
Thank you, Troy. And that is all from social media this afternoon, but feel free to keep the conversation going after the show by tweeting at WTV_NSCC. And don't forget, Waterfront TV airs Thursdays at 7 o'clock. It starts October 17th on Eastlink. Thanks to everyone who asked questions. And for Waterfront TV, I'm Katie Lonis. Back to you, Troy.
Thanks, Katie. Now I'd like to take this time to thank the candidates for really taking the time out of your busy schedules. It's getting closer, and I'd like to thank our studio audience for attending today and those who asked questions at home. For Waterfront TV, I'm Troy Merrick, and don't forget to vote October 8th. Thank you.